Hey guys, Matt here. It's the Broken Supercoach, just checking in. Pretty late, but it's good to be on a Sunday instead of a couple of days late this time. And let's review what's a disaster round for most people, you think. Certainly a disaster for... I mean, it's not really a disaster because I've ended up scoring quite well, but... I mean, everyone's round is ruined, surely. Everyone's season is ruined, surely. Between Martin, I didn't see the news on Kelly, but Kelly went out. You got Mills, who's going to have to isolate potentially for 2 whole weeks. Green potentially has to for 2 weeks. This is just insane. Let's check in and have a look how it went. So I've gone 24-20, top 2%. Really lucky. I had a 0 on field. But I think a lot of people have had zeros, so I'm quite lucky there. So went up 55 spots, quite lucky when you consider that I could have had Martin do nothing, Mills with a DMP, and I could have had Green as well with a DMP if I was on all of those. So let's jump in and have a look how the team went. So, and now you can see how this happened. So I would usually just have had Murphy as the E, obviously had Highmore on field to cover for Whitfield. But I wanted to take 124, and I wasn't convinced that Briggs wasn't going to come in, and I was very lucky, actually, in the end that he didn't. So I just captained Whitfield. He was the obvious one. He was going to be out. So Laird was my emergency. And Murphy had played by the time Mills was announced as out. So that's a straight-up 0 right there. Luckily... The 4 normal defenders have all turned up. Really good. These guys have been super consistent. I think you're going to get an absolute steal out of Lloyd next year. I've been sort of on and off him as far as whether I pick him next year in defense, whether I wouldn't. You'd think Mills won't be a defender next year, which means that the same Stewart, Lloyd, Laird are probably 3 straight into the team, especially if Lloyd... We paid up for him this year. What did we pay? $650 for him. But if you pay him $550 to $600 for Lloyd, I think it's still a very good pick. Obviously, depending on rookies next year. Laird came in, made 100. One of his lower scores, but the Crows weren't great. So that's 64 out of Highmore's a bit of a worry. We needed him to do well. His break even now is back to 40 because he's got some pretty good weeks under his sleeve now. He dislocated his finger. Hopefully he plays. We'll have to see what happens here. And I'm honestly in a position where I may need to trade Mills. Because I'm not taking Murphy on field. And if Highmore goes out, Whitfield will be back. But if Highmore goes out, I'm not going to have Murphy cover Mills. I may need to use a trade on him if it's 2 weeks. And the reason I think he may be out for 2 weeks is because if he's had to isolate from today, and it's a tier 1 exposure site, he potentially needs to isolate for 2 weeks, meaning that he misses next week certainly, and he's not able to get out until next Sunday, which would probably not have him eligible to play that weekend either. So he potentially misses 3 games, which is just massive. So I may trade him out depending on the news of what they're allowed to do. A normal person, I believe, would have to isolate for 2 weeks, but it depends what sort of exposure it was, I guess. Fingers crossed it's not, for the sake of the Swans and footy and my Supercoach team. Midfielders, this was just insane. Steele, I actually thought about vice-captaining him. I've obviously taken the wrong captain here, but I was lucky, because my only ones I was going to go was McRae or Grundy, so I was quite lucky. Steele's a freak. He's on the back of some serious footy at the moment. Hasn't dropped, since round 10 was the last time he dropped under 120. This is just insane, his level of footy he's playing at the moment. Parrish as well, love to see this guy back to his normal stuff. Had a down week, but that's alright. Walsh, this is incredible. What a match. One of the best games of the year. The guy's all over the field. Go and look at his heat map on the AFL app. Hilarious. The form that this guy's in as well in the last 4. Beautiful footy. McRae and Bont was what it was. I was actually expecting a little bit more out of McRae against Gold Coast, but Gold Coast didn't put up much of a fight, so there wasn't much of a contest to be had. And same story with Bont. when there's not much of a contest to be had, it's harder to get points because you're not doing much. Lions, I don't know. I feel like this has been a good pod, but we're not getting what I wanted out of him. Every now and then he pops a decent score, but I was hoping for just a little more consistency than this. 80 and 100's a bit concerning, but because he's a handy pod, I'd like to see these 120s, 140s come back with him. We'll see. Oliver back to his normal self. And this guy, Bramble. For anyone that has Bramble will know that this guy's an actual boy. He's played 4 games of AFL footy. He's already gone up 190,000. 80, 120, and 91. Just GOAT status for a rookie at the moment. And it looks like he'll play permanent mid for them for the rest of the season. And honestly, the way the trades are looking now, I'm only on 2. Everyone else having to trade out Martin. Everyone else having to trade out a bunch of other big name guys. This guy will be a saviour in the midfield for me. I'll keep him here. I've accepted that I can't get full premium, and I probably won't be able to get full premium. I'll use Bramble, and hopefully he plays like this for the rest of the year. Handy cover. Interesting stuff in the right. Of course, Reeves comes in, so I actually hate this that Reeves has come in now. Didn't play in the one round we needed him to play, which was round 12. Which was round 13 because their bye was round 12. And then hasn't played till round 18. So not only has he gone up in price now, he'll continue to go up in price, and he'll be a mid-pricer for next season. So it would have been really handy to have started him as a rookie ruck there, as handy depth to cover whoever you're going to go next year. Grundy, Gawn, Darcy. I think these two are still the ones to go, but Darcy will be interesting, but his durability is absolutely a question. This is interesting to see these two go under 100. This will be the first time in a long time that they've gone under 100 together. It's probably been quite a while, come to think of it. What are we looking at next? Forward lines. So Zorko was down. I actually didn't see Brisbane play. Who did they even play? Oh, Richmond. Did I see that game? I don't remember now. Down score. It's frustrating, but it is what it is. Zorko's been pretty consistent. As long as you can get 100 out of him. If you play in the forward line, if you can get 100 out of him, that's all you want. Dangerfield's back. Good timing. I actually didn't think... I said earlier in the year, I didn't think he was going to factor into Supercoach, but he came back early and he started looking good, and lo and behold, he's going to be our best player on the way through. Zeeble, Hall, Seagulls is what it is. These guys have been just absolute revelations. Love them. Love both of them. Dale the same. I was actually very concerned with Dale because of Dunkley coming back. I was worried that he wasn't going to keep that role, but he has. Plays in defense. As long as he's nowhere near the forward line, he's going to give you between 80 and 100. Doesn't have a huge ceiling as far as his best score. Always had 150 here, but realistically, he's just going to give you a consistent 90 to 110, and I'm pretty happy with that in the forward line. And Bolton, I think Bolton will be back now, and I think if you've got Dustin Martin, I think it's an easy side trade. Martin to Bolton. He'll probably pick up Dusty's role. He's shown he's got the scoring potential. I think it's the best call, but it's I feel for any Martin owners. But I would say that would be my recommendation. If you're a Martin owner, go to Bolton. The question that's one you have to trade. Mills, Whitfield, Green, all of those guys, hold them. That's why I said last week, hold Whitfield, because you get a season-ending injury. That's a guy you have to go on. So, and actually, that scenario happened exactly last week, didn't it? When I said that this is why you hold Whitfield, because he was out for 1 week. You get decent cover in Highmore, and even you get 35 points from Murphy if you didn't have Highmore, whatever, or Bianco, whatever. You had that 60 cover, and now you got Whitfield back, and he's in. You didn't have to blow a trade. You just used your handy 60 points on the bench. You missed out on probably 40 to 50 points. But what you didn't do is use a trade, and now you got Dustin Martin out for the season. He's not coming back. So you have to trade Martin. I suppose, who for? What is Martin? What's Martin's price at the moment? 446. So you can actually make 20 grand doing Bolton. If you've got 40k, you can get Dale. I'm just trying to see, what are most people doing? Marshall's a nice pick. Yeah, so there you go. Bolton, Marshall. I don't know what you're doing here. I don't trust Degoe at all. I would go Marshall or Bolton. Probably lean towards Bolton, just because you know that that he's probably going to pick that roll up. I don't mind if you've got a ruck forward. If you don't, say you don't have Reeves, say you've got Combin or someone, I don't mind Marshall as a pick too, because if one of these goes down, you've already used an injury trade. This is like an insurance injury trade now, because you can use Combin. If say you've got Combin, that's what a lot of people have. I think there's another one. Tracy, I think, was the other one. You can potentially, if Gawn or Grundy goes down, you can potentially throw Marshall up there for a game, get some forward coverage with your bench, and not have to trade out Gawn and Grundy, because that would be disastrous having to trade out one of those two. I guess we've just got to wait and see with Mills and Green. It would be, they're playing on what, Saturday, both teams, GWS and Sydney. I'd be blown away if they're allowed to play. Honestly, just blown away. We'll see though. We'll see if fingers crossed the round even goes ahead, but we'll see. Now, I guess the next question is captain options, vice captain options for the week. We're looking pretty early. I would have said I don't mind Grundy into Port, but 88 points is pretty. They look like they're on some pretty average footy at the moment. Collingwood, the entire team looks genuinely trash. Wouldn't want to try Mills against Fremantle. Jeez, we're starting to go. Parrish into GWS I might go on the Saturday. And then with the plan of perhaps McRae into the Crows on the Sunday. Maybe. I think that's probably the two I will look at. I think also the contest might be enough that you could go Bont into the Crows. Maybe. I think you could also look at Saturday night Steele against West Coast. Does he play well against them? Not really, no. So let's not do that. McRae against the Crows probably is quite good. But in fact, did I do this? Yeah. I was going to say, I looked this up already. Bont into the Crows is very nice. Near 200, 140. So maybe the only thing I'm worried about there is Bont is down on scoring. He hasn't had a captain style score for a couple of weeks now. So think about that. What I will hope is that Parrish just gets his score. So that's probably how I'm going to go. Something like that. Steele, Parrish, McRae, Bont, one of those four. Melbourne against Gold Coast, wouldn't really want to do Oliver there. I wouldn't really want to do Gawn anymore. And I would probably vice captain Grundy. But what that means, it's extremely risky going a C on Bont. So I think Parrish into GWS, and you can make that decision by Sunday. And then, who do I have that plays late? Well, that's the hard part, isn't it? Who would I use? I'll need to think about that. Probably Newcomb, who won't play. No, because he plays before. I'm going to have a think about that. Maybe Mills' DMP, maybe Highmore gets dropped. We'll see. But they're playing here. So really, it's Geelong and Richmond players. Carlton and North players. Jeez, I'd love to be able to do that, but I don't know where I've got that spot. I need my guy to be here, so anyone before then. So it can't be Parrish, frustratingly. I may have to go Grundy into Bont, just because my last DMP will be Briggs, probably. Oh, that is what it is. Let us know what your thoughts on the week are. I'll obviously put that back there. And, obviously, I'm with you guys where I'm just praying that Mills is allowed to play. And for you guys who got Green in, I really hope Green's allowed to play next weekend. Because if you own Mills and Green and Martin, that's you're in serious trouble then. Next week and going forward for the season. So, I think this is how my team's going to look for almost the rest of the year. And probably in the last round, I'll do whoever I think is going to score the highest, Highmore and Bramble out, and I'll turn them into a big mid or something just for the lols. But that's me, guys. Thanks for watching. Apologies it was a little late. And I'll be back on the usual time for Thursday teams. So there's a Friday night game. Fingers crossed we get some footy again. Have a good one.